Let's talk about 4 different lightsaber hilt pommel attachment styles. So lightsaber hilt pommels, they're kind of the end cap of a lightsaber hilt. So they're at the very bottom, and they'll be vented or they'll have sound holes in them quite often if the lightsaber is a sound saber. If it's a stunt saber without sound or just a display piece, sometimes it will be solid on the bottom. But anyway, let's get into the different attachment styles. So by far the most common lightsaber hilt pommel attachment style is threaded, and more specifically, the pommel itself will be quite often threaded male, and inside of the hilt will be threaded female. So here's some of the threading on this pommel here, and then you have kind of corresponding female threading inside of the hilt. So here's an example of that. This one is another example. So you can see that the amount of threading will vary from hilt to hilt. And of course, the pommels from companies, the various custom saber companies, they're not necessarily compatible with each other too. That's a good little PSA to put in there. Okay, another kind of threading you'll see is where the pommel has the female threading. Now this isn't very common, but here's an example of it. So you see the female threading inside of the pommel and the male threading on the hilt itself. Another pommel attachment style is the pommel will attach to the hilt with a screw or sometimes multiple screws. So here's a screw here and then on the other end, and both of those attach this pommel to the hilt. And the one next to it's the same way. In this case, there's only one screw attaching it. And so I'll actually undo this and show you guys what that looks like. It's just this other one would take a little bit more time. So that's why I'm just showing this one. Not that much longer, but you know. So here's this one sliding off, and you see there's no threading in there. And at least in this case, there's also not threading for the screw to attach directly. Now, depending on who makes the hilt, sometimes there'll be like a little hole in there also. But anyway, this one just kind of attaches without the hole. So let's see, I'm doing this by hand. Obviously you would ordinarily just use a hex wrench. I'm just doing this because it was relatively loose. Okay. Now, final attachment method that I'll be mentioning in this video is just it's permanently attached, so it's not really intended to be removed. Maybe you could remove it if you really tried, but here's an example of that. This hilt is just meant to be a display piece, so there's not really a reason you need to get inside of the hilt, and so you will see that with some things like this one. But anyway, those are just kind of 4 lightsaber hilt pommel attachment styles, and feel free to comment below.